Assalamu alaikum. In today's lesson we are going to talk about the ya. Now for those who didn't look into the ha, I advise you to go back and check that lesson, because the move that we are going to generally talk about is the triangle that we've discussed the last time with 60 degrees all over it. Now the ya, you start with the same move going up here. Then the shapes differ. Some of them look like the ha that we did last time. This is the top part of the ya, which is this part. For example, this is the ya. We'll talk about this part now. That goes up, then goes down. After that, the shapes differ. Some of them go straight to this side. Others go straight, then rotate, then go back. Either stop with this line or continue, depending on the decoration that we want from them. Now others go down, just like a noon, then go back up, intersect with these two lines, then stop here, or continue up with a decoration. This is quite a complicated shape. Now other shapes either stop here or down here or continue with a line here. We're not going to go through all the shapes. We're going to take let's say 3 shapes, 4 shapes of them. So because of the size of it, we are going to take the 8mm thickness just to keep the shape inside the paper that we've got here. Usually we start with the lower line, the base line, and we determine the starting point. Now, if it came by itself, for example, in a word that is not connected, the same shape that we had in the ha. So we've got this shape. Let's say that we went to a ya that goes straight to the left then stops. This part we add a small triangle to it, and this is singular. Now the starting point is the starting point of the triangle that we've talked about, the one that is 60 degrees. So just like the previous one, we get our triangle, we put it on the baseline, and we draw this line. We take 8mm from this line along the line itself, and we draw the parallel line to the first one that we've got there. Then we take the half a thickness parallel to this one, and we connect it. Again, we take the full thickness, 8mm, and we connect it. Now we've got this shape that we've always started with. Now at the beginning, right over here, if we took the thick line, the whole thickness of it, it intersects here. Starting from this point, you will go to the right 2mm. You go to the right half a thickness, so that will be 4mm. And here it is. We've got a small triangle that goes up half a thickness, then goes back parallel to this line and goes down here. So this is basically like a pyramid. What we've got is this line going down here, and we've got the full thickness right over here. what happens is that we take a distance of t over 2 to the right. This will be the end of a triangle with a height of t over 2. This is a small triangle that we've just achieved. T over 2 with a height of t over 2. And the line goes parallel to this line. So it goes down, closes, and you erase this part. So on the paper, it will look something like this. Take this and connect it. This if it was by itself. Now the height of the year depends on the design that you are going for. It shouldn't be too short. At the same time, it shouldn't be too high. So, for example, just like the hair, if you had a hair, it should be roughly the same height as a hair, or other letters in the text. If there was a bear, it shouldn't be the same height as a bear, or a year, like a normal one that we've discussed before, that was 2.5 or 3 times the thickness. It should be higher than it. So we've got our lines over here. Now let's go for a height of, let's take 5 times the thickness, which will give us 8 multiplied by 5. It will give us 4 centimeters. It sounds a bit short, but let's go for it and see how it will look like. Now this is 4 centimeters, and this is the intersection right over here. So we've got the vertical point that we've achieved in the heart too. This point will go down, then rotate. Now, just like we've discussed in the heart, from this point you take 4 millimeters downward, take the perpendicular line to this line, as we can see here. This is where the shape starts rotating. So you go here, you connect this one to this one, as we can see, and from this point it will start going upward until it reaches this point, the first point that we would determine. Now on this line, again, we determine the full thickness, 8 millimeters, right over here, and this will follow the rotation that we've got up there. And this line will connect to the half thickness from this point that we've just determined. So this, we take a perpendicular to it, and this is where the point will connect. And we've got the decoration right over here. Then you continue the shape. This one. After that, the length of the other part is also depending on the height of this part. Like for example, this year is 4 centimeters high. If I went 16 centimeters, it will look ugly. So let's try and go for a point that will intersect with this point to show. So for example, this, if we stop the year right here, we will have a triangle that contains the letter year, which will look nice for the eye. So this will be our end point. Now right here, if you chose to stop it here, you do the exact same move that we've always did. You take 8 millimeters right here, you determine that point, determine the intersection with the 4 millimeters up this line, and you've got this shape, and you connect it like this. So when we outline this, it will be a singular yeah. So this is a single ya. Now, when a ya comes in the middle, we've mentioned this way back in the ba lesson. So in Arabic, if you had a word like baytuti, which means a guy who stays at home, baytuti. As we can see that this ya is different from this ya. So a ya in the middle is simply a tooth, even in thuluth. And right here you've got several shapes to the ta with a ya, so you can go with this one, or you can go with a different one that has this ya to it. As we can see, inside of a word it's just like a ba, so a ba, go back to that lesson, you'll find that it would look something like this. It's easy to write down. As we can see here, this ya, since thuluth is taken from previous texts such as the Kufi, you will find the ya that we are going to draw, the one that we talked about. You go up, you go down, you either go left or you rotate and come back. So for example, baiti would look something like this: ba, ya, and a ta with a ya. So this is actually the original ya that they used to write with way back at the beginning of Arabic scripting in Kufi. So we've got this first shape. Now we talked about either keeping it as it itself or taking it to the left. It will be the same idea. You stop here, you go up, you rotate, and you color this part if you want to. Now a second idea would be to go down. Now, as discussed in some classes before, you leave half a thickness, then you leave the full thickness. This is the maximum drop. And let's say that we've stopped right here. You rotate it and you connect this line. The same thing goes for the upper part, but for the ya, we are going to do something a bit different. So we've chosen this to be the tangent of the circle right here. We go inside to find the point that is going to draw this circle, and when we connect the upper part to the lower part, we will have something like this. 1.5 thickness, so this will stop somewhere around here. Yeah. So usually you would simply just rotate this around. Now for the ya, if you took this line and went to the left, then to the right, so this shape is going to look like this. We've got the upper part of the ya right over here. This is t over 2. We talked about this circle with a diameter of t over 2, and with this point going down the full thickness t, you will have this point and this point. Usually you would connect them with a semicircle. You can have this, or if you want to, you can increase this length and connect it with this ya. So the shape would be like this. You will have a nudge right over here, as if it was something for like a bench. It is quite a beautiful touch to the letter. Now, this, if you want to change the shape of it, instead of having it going straight to the left to rotate and go back, if you went back, you will stop. By the way, this is not half the thickness, it should be right here. That's why we've got some different shapes to the circle. So if you went all the way back, you could stop it right here. When you stop it, try to make the end of it curved. So if you colored this part, it would look curvy if you want it to be curvy, which looks nice, looks like a knife. And this would go all the way back, do the rotation, and comes back. As we said, you can either stop it here or stop it here. You can continue all the way around if you want to, right over here. You can have it circle or with this part. And when you go back, it would look just like this. So right now we've got 3 years. 1, 2, 3. Now, the same thing, you can modify the upper part right over here. So the shape that we've just drawn was more of a curvy shape. Now in Kufi you also have straight and sharp edges. Instead of having the curves, if we went up here, you see this line, if we took a parallel line up right over here and we took the same thickness downwards, we will have our letter going to the left. This line, as we determined before, is t over 2. If we took the half point of this line with the intersection with the upper line and we went back with a degree, the 60 degree that we talked about, we will have a not sure what it's called, but it's like a honeycomb. You will have this shape to it. So instead of curves, you will have straight lines that will stop, rotate, parallel to the baseline, then go back with a 60 degree triangle, just like this, then comes back. Then you continue with whatever shape you want it to be. So we can have either this geometric, straight liney, or the curvy one. It's the same idea, but you need to modify the upper part of it. We're going to draw this shape and let's say change the lower part of it. There's another shape that we can use. So we've got this line. We take our 60 degree from this point, the starting point of the letter. We take the 8 millimeters again. I'm going to speed this up just for us to go to the important stuff. So here we have it. Now taking a line parallel to this line, which will be the maximum height, let's take it for like the one before. It's right over here. You go straight, and this would be the upper part of the ear. So if you took the full thickness, 8 millimeters, it will intersect right over here. You close this part. The midpoint of this line will be the change of the letter, so it will be right over here, 2 millimeters. This goes right to the left. Now the other part goes down with a 60 degree angle, because that's the triangle that we are working on. There you have it. And the same thing goes for this line. You take the 8 millimeters thickness right over here. You take your triangle and you connect this to the upper line. So, and you connect this one to this one. Now you've got this geometric shape with lines going around. When you go back to the baseline with the 8mm thickness right over here, instead of what we've done here, which was going back, you can go down the maximum drop, the 12mm, and take the last parallel line, this one that goes back. This last parallel line is intersecting with the lower 1.5 of thickness line, which is right over here. Let's just double check it. This is 12. So from this intersection, take double the thickness to the left. So 2 times 8 will equal 16. 16 is right over here. Now, you connect this part with the from here, just like this. This is the further point to the left. Take one thickness, the 8mm, it comes right here, and you connect this one to this one. Now, you can go back, take the full thickness, and continue it to whatever length you want to. Now this part will be inclined like this instead of this. As usual, this would be 60 degrees. If you outline this and clear it, it will look different from the previous one. There you have it. As we can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shapes of the air. Now, this also you can take to the left instead of rotating and coming back with it. It's exactly the same. We have to stress on the fact that the height of it is up to you. Now you can take it 6 times. Let's say the height would be 6 times or 4.5, or depending on the script you're writing and the design that you're having in your piece of art. Now, if you didn't want any of these, you can use a straight one. The straight one is basically taking the shape that we've drawn, and instead of going for a 60 degrees, it will just go 90 degrees. So this line, if we got this, the first part, the triangle that we talked about, 4 by 4, t over 2 by t over 2, and instead of going to the left with a degree, we go straight upward, just like this. Take the full thickness from here, and you go upward. Then the same decoration would come over here, rotates and comes back like this. At the end, you can add the raw finish, or you can end it something like this. Now this is too easy. Try it by yourself. These dimensions are t, t over 2, and t. The same thing goes for these. This is t over 2, and the thickness between this point and this point is t. Down here, you take the maximum drop, 1.5 t, and in the raw we've taken this to be t, the end at which this part will end, and this we all know how to create, t and t over 2. This is how you write a ya. Now we are going to talk about the la, the alif lam. So, for example, La ilaha illallah. You know, we've got shapes that are quite complicated in this script, but we are going to talk about the more straightforward ones. So you've got an alif or a lam and an alif. For example, la. This thing or this thing. So we will take this shape instead of this shape, and those two lines going downward, you would take 45 degrees like this and this, another one, and you take the straight line from here and the straight line from here, they go back and they close. So here you've got lam and alif. So for the la, we've got two shapes that we're going to talk about. The first one would be geometric. So we go down with a degree that is 45. Then we've got the other side going exactly the same thing with 45. This part would go all the way to the edge. This part will also go all the way to the edge, goes down. Got a small gap inside, then we will have this shape. So it's about finding these 45-degree edges. The second shape would be curvy. Inside we've got a teardrop. On the outside we've got this shape. So this will go down, goes to the left, goes below the line, then comes from the right, then goes up. Meanwhile, this one goes with a degree, falls down with the thickness, then goes back up. So while recording this video, I've managed to not hit the record button, so all the steps for the first one were missed and I had to redo it again. But for that, what you are going to do is choose your baseline right here. Choose a starting point somewhere around here. Now, with this, you will have to determine the fold thickness, as we said, the 16 millimeters. Right over here, this is the full thickness. Then you will determine the half a thickness, the point that will come inside, which is 8, right over here. So now you've got a slight line that you need to determine, this line, that goes upward 1.5 t. Moving down to the lower part, you will take the full thickness again, then you will take half a thickness, then you will take the full thickness. So right now, if you joint all these lines, in the middle you will get this square that is half the thickness by half the thickness. Taking these inside edges of the square, you would put this and take 45 degrees to the right from the left point and to the left from the right point. You would connect this with this one and connect this to this one. Now, taking these lines, just like what we did for the year, perpendicular to these lines, you would go out the full thickness, 16, again 16, connect these two together, just like this. They will have to intersect with the outer edges. Take the other side again, 16, and another 16, connect them together, and again they will intersect with the outer edge. You see how easy it is to draw it. Now all we have to do is connect this line above and this line above, and to outline it you will have this shape, and the lower one, the straight lines, the insides, and this one goes up here, the other one goes the way around, and you continue. Now for the inner edges, as we can see here, they intersect with the inner sides of the gap. So this will continue upward, intersect here, the other one will intersect here, and there you have it. You color it and you will get this shape. Now coloring a letter in Kufi, you've got what is looking like a grid. So if you got, let's say, 2 lines by 2 lines, finally they will connect with each other. Let's connect this one to this one, and this one to this one. So we've got this grid. If we started from this part, you will go down, as you can see, then you'll go back to the right, then you'll go back to the right upwards, then go back up here, for example. So as we can see here, the line intersected, so this part is above the other part. We got the other shape, this one came above this one. Right here, you make this one go below. Then you go back to the right, right over here. It went below here, it will come above here. Just like this. And then it will come below this one, and then continue. So what we will have to do is look into the shapes that you've got in the scripts. A line should not go above 2 lines. For example, this shape, this would look ugly if we broke it. This look loose, so when you draw it, it will have to look like this. If it went below one, it should go above the other one, and vice versa. This one is more built up, so it went below, here it go up, and here it will be the opposite, just like this. These show that they are built up properly. If we took this upwards, we went to the left, then connected this one, and let's take this one and connect it to this one, for example. So these are sort of going on top of each other. That's why you do this gap here. If you left it without a gap, it will look fine, but it won't look nice. And if you had too much decorations, it will confuse the people who are looking at it. They wouldn't know which line is above the other. Now the second shape that we've got here, we start with a baseline, choose the starting point, determine this point, the T that we've got here. Then we determine another point above it, that is 3/4 of a T, right over here. Then, as we did, we find the thickness, then half the thickness, then the thickness. We go lines upward. We've got the full thickness line here, which has a midpoint t/4, this point. And in the outside, there's a point that we're going to discuss in details. You connect this one to this one, then it intersects with the t/2 from this side, goes back, then intersect, and goes to the similar shape here. And the outer edge will come naturally with this one that intersects in the middle. So we've got the outer edge. When you go down, you might find that it's far further from the edge. So what you have to do is get a curve right here. And as we said, we've got the intersection of the curve on the insides. So this curve intersects with 3 points. The first point is what we've discussed, T and 3/4 of a T. After that, we've got an intersection that goes further from here, which is T and 1/4 of a T right here, given that this is t/2. So this point will intersect right here, and it will join another point that is t/2. So you've got this curve. This one you draw separately. It connects to this one. You connect this point to this point, finally to this point. So if you use the compass, it will give you this shape. It will intersect here. So what you have to do is start connecting these 3 points together. Finally, this one you would draw freehandly, and you go back to the other side. So if we did this, I've determined these points already here. So I take this one and connect it to this one, the curved shape, then connect these two together, then go back, and then up, then go back on the other side, which will connect to this one. Again, you can use those curved shapes that we've talked about. If you want to use a compass, you'll have to find a right angle to put your compass in, because the curve that we are drawing is joining 3 different points, just like this. The same thing goes for the other side. You were to come here and join these 2 together. So this point is roughly 1/4 the thickness, yes. If you want it to be roughly estimated, to draw this curve, you take the lower part and you go outside t/4, put your compass here, and you can draw this curve. Now, as we discussed, this would be the inner curve. The outer curve would be the same thing. It will intersect with the outer edges, the midpoint somewhere right here, and it will intersect with the full thickness line from the right and from the left. So if we go to the same point right here, and we did this, we went out the same point right here, and we did this, we will have this shape that intersects in the middle, and to the right, to the left with the alifers. Now this shape is looking like this. This goes up and this goes up. So it goes down, goes below, rotates, comes back on top, then goes up. The lower parts, as we said, we take 1.5 the thickness down here, 16, then 8, right over here. Midpoint, you connect a straight line from the right, straight line from the outer edge on the left, and you give it 1/8 of the thickness. So here we can add 2 millimeters, and it will have a nice curve to it, just like this. When you outline it, you'll have a nice pen head here. You can connect it from the right if you want to. Let's ink it. So as we can see here, we've got the, after coloring it, go down, go up, you continue these parts upward, and you can connect it from the right. And we've got a word like Al-Islam, you've got an alif, the first shape, then the sin, then you go with the other shape, then the meme, if you want to practice both of them. Hope you enjoyed this video. Next lesson will be an example for how to write or create an art piece with the Kufi scripts. See you next time.